Hi again. This is me starting this video for the third time. I'll be talking about regression tonight, and I don't know will I be able to repeat everything that I said in video in Serbian, because this is a creative process and it's not a translation. So I'll do my best. I don't know if I remember everything I've said there. So what is regression and why do we do regression? Or regressive hypnosis. What I do is regressive hypnosis. So this is why I'm talking about regression, and it's a continuation for the video about transpersonal hypnotherapy. This is my cat. She likes to sit around when I do something and to catch the energy. And regression is going back into the past, going back into past event, into some my cat is distracting me. Going back into past event, going back to the past level that you of your development that you once were, going back somewhere that you already lived something. And why is regression important? It's a part of the process of transpersonal hypnotherapy that I use. So there are two regressions, different regressions that I use. One regression is regression in this lifetime, which means that you can go back to the event that you lived through in this lifetime because you had some trauma and that you want to uncover, to remember, to release yourself from, to take back your energy, to stop being pulled by that trauma, or to receive some more information about what has happened there. And then you can also remember some things that you have forgotten about event, or you can find some things that you misplaced and you like them, you want them back. This lifetime regression is also going back to the childhood and going back to the womb, which is the part of the process that I use. So this is also a regression. The other part of regression is past life regression. And why do we go there? We do a past life regression because we are looking, when you come to see me, we are looking for the cause of the problem, of the issue that you came with, that you want to work on. Sometimes this cause is in this lifetime, but sometimes the cause can be much, much further away. And in this sense, we're going back in the past life to see what has happened to you there that is making you repeat some pattern, some behavioral pattern or emotional pattern, or to understand some emotions that are pulling you or that you're carrying inside of yourself. So how this works, you come with an idea of what you want to work on. Why? Because you usually know. You cannot miss it. Something is pulling you, something is making you look there, and something is telling you that it's time to remember something. And then you might have physical sensations, you might have recurring dreams, you might have some triggers, some fears, or some triggers of some events trigger some emotions in you that are making you remember subconsciously what has happened to you, or is reminding you of some event that's similar to what has happened to you, and you have the same reaction over and over and over again to that event. So what can you do? What can you look for in regression? You can work on fears. You can work on phobias. You can work on panic attacks. You can work on anxiety. You can work on depression. You can work on some smaller addictions like cigarette addictions or food addiction, or even sexual addictions, if you are ready to resolve it. You can look to some emotional causes of some feelings that you have towards somebody or feelings that are inside of you. You can work on contracts that you have between people in your life. You can work on relationships and different relationships in your lifetime. There are many things that you can do with regression. And basically, when we talk about regression, we're still talking about working with your subconscious, because I'm here still working with your subconscious. I'm talking to your subconscious that has memory of this event that has happened to you. This event is usually a traumatic event, like sudden death, or somebody left you, or somebody has hurt you, or somebody that you loved either deserted you or killed you or disappointed you in some way. Something shocking happened, and that created trauma. And this trauma sort of tied your energy for this event. You tied your emotion for this event because you didn't process that emotion. This emotion was unprocessed at that time. And then you carried this emotion in your energy, in your DNA, and it's sometimes written in your body. And we use this bodily sensations that you can have sometimes during the regression as a portal to that memory. But usually this is written in your energy. And when we do regression, I'm helping you remember the event. So basically, you are telling me the story about what has happened to you that is causing you to be in a situation that you are in now, or to feel what you're feeling now, or to have emotional issue, or to have some disease. Yeah, you can also work on physical issues and diseases during regression. I have had clients with all of this. And why am I insisting on trauma? I'm insisting on trauma because this is usually what you are looking for in regression. We usually observe some event that was not so nice. Regression is not very sweet. It's not very sugary, so I can't pour sugar for you on this. It's not going to be very high topic, because it is not. Regression is basically emotional clearing, and you're taking back that energy that's left there with that event, and you left a part of yourself. You left this energy, and basically this energy still exists there and is repeating what has happened to you, is still living it through. So you take back this energy to yourself, and you integrate it back in yourself, into your soul, and mostly into your body too. So in this way, regression is sort of a hypothetical thing, because for our subconscious, time does not exist. Linear time that we know of does not exist, because everything happens in this very moment. So your energy exists there in this very moment, and is living this same event over and over and over again, because you are in disconnect with this energy that's left there, because you didn't process this, what happened to you, because you were in shock. How this works, I'm talking about trauma because I'm trained to work with trauma. When I did my P studies, this was the issue that was of interest to me, how trauma functions and how trauma works. And this is what happens. We'll have 3 parts of our brains: instinctual, emotional, and mental one. So when you have a big shock, when you have a car accident, when your life is threatened, when somebody dies, or some natural disasters happen, you are in shock, and you sort of freeze in that moment. And you can look. There are videos that are showing even animals who have some shock, and that brings a lot of fear, provokes a lot of fear in them. And even the muscles on the face and your muscles in your body, everything sort of freezes, because you are processing this shock. And what happens in the moment when you freeze, your instinctual, your mental mental brain stops the flow of emotions into itself, and so that your instinctual brain can work and help you to survive this moment. which is fine, because this is exactly what you need. You need to survive, and you cannot process your emotion because the emotions will overwhelm you. You will probably lose your mind. You will have a nervous breakdown, and you maybe wouldn't be even able to survive if you start dealing with your emotions at that moment. So it's a protective process, and it's okay. When does it start not to be okay? There is a certain amount of time that everybody needs to process grief or fear or the event that has happened to them, which is about a year or two, depends from person to person, but usually a year. I usually advise my clients not to do a regression, past life regression or any other regression during grieving period. If somebody has died in the family or somebody close to them, at least a year needs to go by before you do a regression, because you need to go through this process. You need to go through the process naturally, and you also need to adapt to the situation that somebody is not there anymore. When I started my hypnotherapy sessions, I lost my mom 2 weeks before the course. And I still did hypnotherapy, but we didn't do past life regression at that time. And I worked on some other issues, emotional issues, but not on that particular event because it was too fresh at that moment. I was even asked, do I want to talk to her? But I said I don't want to, because I need time to get used to her not being around. So this is also what I advise to you, and I see it's helpful. I know everybody wants to talk to the people who are not there anymore, but at that moment, it's not very helpful for you. So this is a sidetrack, but it's needed. I needed to say that. And after that period, if your mind still continues to be overprotective of you and doesn't let your emotions go slowly, so that you can process what has happened to you and accept and integrate it, then that it's not okay. How this happens? Because this energy of these emotions don't go anywhere. They're still inside of you, and they go and they work in your subconscious mind, and you can function normally for a period of time, but eventually you start using too much of your own energy to block these emotions, to suppress them, and to help them not to show out, and to not facing them. You're not facing them. You don't want to deal with them. You don't want to feel. Usually, even when people come to see me, they tell me, I don't want to feel. But you are exactly where you are because you don't want to feel. The only thing that you have to do at this point is feel. How do you have emotional clearing? By feeling this emotion, by going through it. And how this happens? You cry, you scream, you yell, you do whatever you need to do during the session. And usually people cry, and everybody cries a lot. Even men cry in the sessions, not because I want to make you cry, but because this is what you need at the moment to let this emotion go, to unblock yourself, to release this energy. Once you understand what has happened, once you see that maybe you didn't have all the information, maybe you didn't have all the bits and pieces that you needed to have to understand why this has happened to you, and why this certain person did something or didn't do something, you feel a relief, and you allow yourself to grieve, to cry, and to release this emotion. Then we work on forgiveness, and we work on forgiveness to everybody who was involved in the situation, and to everybody or to yourself. And sometimes we change contracts between those actors if that is what is needed. But usually once you understand the situation, I usually ask, why did you need this experience? What did it teach you? Is there anything else that you need to learn from it? Do you still need it, and why you once needed it? And once you understand all this brings a release, and this brings sort of clearing. I call it clearing. Maybe clearing is not an appropriate term, but I call it clearing. So what else happens during the regression? We usually watch the death scene And the death scene is not always something that we start with. It's different with every client. So you can start wherever. You can start with some emotional scene. You can start with a scene where you felt really nice. You can start with a scene where your energy is tied to, or the place where the energy is tied to, or you can start with the death scene. That's very different. But we usually go to the death scene because we need it. And this is where your understanding happens after you leave your body. You understand things better from the perspective, from that perspective, than when you are sort of still participating and still being in this role. What this brings you? This brings you sort of objective perspective, because you look upon that life that you just lived through from the from another point, from the point of an objective observer, not from the point of a participant. So it doesn't trigger you that much emotionally anymore. The goal is that those triggers that once happened to you and that once made you feel certain way, and from this feeling you created a vibration. This feeling brings a certain vibration that you create your life from. You tied a certain thought, a certain belief to that event and this emotion. For instance, if somebody hurt you, you might say, oh, I will never love anybody again, or I will never let anybody in my life again, or something like that, or I'll never let anybody disappoint me ever again. And once we find this belief, we change it so that you can give it a different meaning, and so that you can vibrate differently and create differently from now on. And then the triggers that are similar or the same as the ones that used to create this emotion that was blocking you are not doing the same thing anymore, because you're not triggered anymore. You don't have bad emotions. You don't cry. You don't start feeling bad when something similar happens like you used to before. Basically, you change, but you change from the inside. The actors around you don't change, but you react differently to them. And with this alone, they react differently towards you because you vibrate differently. This is the point of regression, and this is what you get from regression. Sometimes some people see one lifetime during a regression session. Sometimes some people see more than one. The most that I had so far is 4. Somebody saw 4 lifetimes, or did somebody see 7? Sometimes you just receive information about it, and sometimes we go through the process. But I use it as a part of a bigger process, because I said I'm not interested in hypnosis. I'm also not all that interested into past life regression for itself, because I was interested in it, and I was searching for it because I needed it for myself, and this was just the way to direct me to where I need to go and what I need to do. But by itself, regression is for me not a very exciting thing anymore, because it gives you emotional clearing, it gives you release, it gives you understanding of yourself and integration of that lost part of yourself. But the biggest healing that you get is by connecting to your soul. And the regression, we use regression, past life regression, to deal with that disconnect so that you can connect back to your soul again and receive a new energy which actually brings healing to you. And this is why I say it doesn't mean that past life regression doesn't bring you anything. It does, but the biggest healing you receive from your soul and the connection with your soul, which is another topic. We will talk about it another time. When we talk about regression, I have to mention that you can have past life memories in this and of other lives in this planet. But there are also people who come to see me, and I have quite a few of them, if not, well, not all of my clients, but majority of my clients are like that, and they have memories of past lives and incarnations from other planets, meaning alien lives. And I will create a totally different video on that topic, but I'm very excited about those sessions because they really bring different meaning, different perspective, new knowledge, and I've learned a lot from my clients They actually taught me the entire process of what I need to do with somebody, and some tricks that I didn't know myself, that I wouldn't remember. And I'm so very grateful for my clients, and I'm especially for these kind of clients, because they just moved my process a little bit along the way. They speeded me up a little bit. So yeah, I'm very excited about those clients. They're called starseeds or hybrid souls, but I have a different definition of that, so I'll talk about it at some other point. And this is what I like to do, and sort of this is kind of becoming my specialty. One other thing that you can do in past life regressions is about soulmate connections, and this is what usually people come mostly to see me about for some reason. And I have had quite a few regressions regarding relationships, partner issues, soulmate issues, and other stuff. So I've learned a lot from those people. This is, I mean, people who are following me, they know I read a blog also, and this is where all the things that I write come from the experiences of my clients and my own regressions. What else didn't I tell you about past life regression? Yeah, when we talk about talking with your subconscious, there is one little thing that you also need to know. I told you that our subconscious doesn't understand time. So when we talk, this is important when we talk to a client. I mean, not only because this lifetime is happening now, hypothetically speaking, but also the therapist needs to be very careful how he talks to the client, because we cannot use past tense or negations. Like our subconscious also doesn't understand no for some reason. So for instance, if I say, don't think about pink oranges, you will think about pink oranges, because our subconscious, our mind is working by like autopilot, and the first thing that clicks to you is to think about that, and then you will think about no. Okay, sometimes this is not very necessary during the process, especially when the client is really deep, but it's not always like that, and you should be very careful. And I know that people who are English-speaking people have many sources to learn about this, and I mentioned this in my Serbian video for other hypnotherapists that follow my channel, and because of some things that I've seen from my clients that are happening around, and then they come to see me, and I have to fix some things. This is why I'm mentioning this. Okay. And one other thing about trauma, when you're dealing with trauma, we have to be really careful not to re-traumatize clients. And somehow what happens with this process is that it sort of arranges itself. I mean, I keep saying that it's not me who lead. I do guide client, and you talk to me, but it's not me who guides the session. It's guides, it's spirit guides who guide it, and whatever happens there is for the highest good of the client. And I've had a client who had near-death experience and very difficult car accident, and she remembered everything, every moment of that car accident that she didn't remember before. She had different issues, worked on something else, but this process was necessary for her so that she gathered some information that she didn't have. She was remembering the incident even before, but she received some new insight and new information, and she saw why this has happened to her and why her soul chose to have this experience. And how the strangeness of this process was that she didn't remember anything after the session. Usually it's not like that because I tape the session, you get the recording, and you talk to me, so everybody remembers, not every single thing, but you remember. But she didn't, and she started remembering afterwards, little by little. And why this happened in this way? Because this was best for her not to be re-traumatized with the emotions. I also had a client with incest, and she remembered the event, and she remembered everything, but she was talking about it without any emotions. You can also desensitize the process of the client so that you're not overwhelmed with the emotions. And this is what usually people are most afraid of when they come to see me, because they are afraid that this will happen again to them, that they will feel very big pain. They're afraid of the emotions, and mental mind is afraid of the emotions. Your mental mind is protecting you. During this process, your mental mind continued to protect you. It doesn't mean anything bad to you. It's not a bad guy, but it started hurting you at some point by not allowing you to remember and integrate what you need to integrate to function properly, to unblock yourself and move on. You come to see me when you feel blocked, and when your life is not in flow, when you have forgotten how to live. And you come to see me so that you can remember how to live, how to be happy and satisfied with your life, and to remember why do you want to live this life in the first place. This is when you come to see me. And this is what happens during regression. And you remember why you like this life, why you love this life. Because you felt so much pain that was buried deep down inside, and you needed to remember what has happened to you to cause this huge pain. This is usually the process. And these people are not bad because they feel pain. They're usually not going to tell you that they feel pain. And this pain, when your mental mind is protecting them, it doesn't go anywhere, but it starts going out, pain or some other emotion, in irrational ways. And usually you get sick because your body is telling you that something is wrong with you, and you need to go back and be in balance so that you can function properly and be a harmonious being and function normally. And then when your mental mind understands that he's not helping you anymore, but is harming you, we change its role, and it helps you actually live again and create your life again. This is what regression is good for, and this is why you do regression. It's not for everybody. It doesn't mean that everybody cannot receive information. Yes, you can receive information, and you will have valuable insights. You will understand yourself better, and but usually people that come to see me in past life regressions watch a lot of traumatic events, and I'm talking about it, and I'm creating this video so not only to inform you in educational purposes, but to tell you to be careful how you work with people that have experienced trauma, because they're not bad because they experienced trauma. Something has happened to them. Yes, there is a reason why this has happened to them, and they need to understand this reason, but they don't need to be judged because of it. They're not bad because they're in pain. This pain doesn't need to be medicated. This pain doesn't need to be shunned off. This pain doesn't need to be put aside on a shelf, because this is what they're already doing. They're blocking it, and that's what's making them feel worse. They need to be acknowledged. Their feelings, their inner being needs to be respected, and this is what they need the most. Not to tell them that they're a victim or they have victim mentality. You know, if somebody's been raped, if somebody had a car accident, if somebody has been mugged, if somebody has been physically attacked and his life has been threatened and he's afraid, he's not bad because he's afraid. He needs to understand why he's afraid, and he needs to be helped how to deal with this fear, and he needs to be helped how not to be feeling a victim anymore. He doesn't need to be told that to feel shame, even more shame that he's already feeling because he has a victim mentality. He doesn't have a victim mentality. He was a victim. So we need to help them not to be victims anymore of that events that maybe happened long time ago. And even if they happened long time ago, only by telling them, oh, this doesn't need to hurt you anymore, and trying to cheer them up, it's not going to help, because they need to understand, and this pain needs to be acknowledged. And once it's acknowledged, once you listen to them, once you empathize with them, this helps them feel better. That sometimes is enough. It doesn't mean that regression won't help. Of course it will help, but sometimes it's enough. And I have a reason for saying this, because I've been hearing a lot of it lately around, and it's not helping. These people are already ashamed about what has happened to them, and they will most likely won't even tell you, even if they know. Most of them doesn't remember, because when it's something as traumatic as the events that I was talking about, some people don't remember, because they're, in order to survive and to be alive with what has happened to them, they sort of blocked it, and they're not allowing this memory to come out, because they're afraid it will break them. And they don't feel shame, not conscious shame. This is unconscious. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm saying that I'm working with your subconscious, because this is an unconscious process. It's not something that they sit around and think how they're going to hide themselves. It's unconscious. And they're feeling ashamed of what has happened to them. They're feeling that people will judge them when they hear what has happened to them, because usually that is what happens, because we cannot deal with their emotions, and we cannot deal with something so tragic and traumatic, and we want to run away from it because we don't know how to process that. But it's not their fault. It's our fault. So we can only educate ourselves not to make those people feel even worse. And I know not everybody does this, but this goes out to most of my colleagues that I know are doing this, because I have clients that I have to help out one more time, because this is how they felt after they told somebody or showed some deep emotions, deep pain. These people are afraid and ashamed, and shame is not a negative emotion, because it can tell you what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. But there is such a thing as a toxic shame, and when you don't process this shame, it can block you, and it can make you be angry and react from anger. So when I said that these emotions come out in irrational ways, they can come out as a disease, as a psychosomatic disease, as people will tell me. This is I don't know how to translate this in English. This is from my psyche. It's on psychic level. It's from a psyche level. It's not physical. There is no explanation for this, and it is. That's the truth. But there is an explanation deeper down in your energy. Or you can become angry with somebody for no reason. You can start yelling, or these emotions can start coming out in the very moment when you don't need them to, or when there is something very important. There's my cat again saying hi. There's something that's very important for you, and then it sabotages you. So this is why you need to. And usually people who come to see me, this is why they decide they will work on something, because they've been for too long in a certain emotion, because they're procrastinating for too long, because they're sabotaging themselves for too long, and they don't know why. And that's how it goes. So yeah, this is most for some of them. I become the only person that they ever said about those things, that I ever shared to anybody. And sometimes I also advise them to find somebody, another person, maybe even a total stranger, that they can share this with. And this helps them open up, because they're not ashamed of themselves anymore, and they talk to other people about those things that has happened to them. This is why I told you that there is nothing sweet about regression, because this is the kind of clients that I get to work on regression, past life regression especially. And mostly people get tied to the death scene, because this death is traumatic or sudden, and this is why they're so concerned about going back to the death scene. And mostly it is. Mostly this is what we deal with. Sometimes we deal with some unfinished business between a person or a business or certain surroundings, whatever that is, or yourself. You didn't finish something that you said that you promised yourself that you will do. So this is also what we do, and this also sometimes comes with traumatic events. And you can also work on nicer things. You can take back some talents that you had in that previous lifetime, and you need them now. You might not even need them now, but you want them now because you want to create a different life for yourself. Sometimes these talents can also be tied to some traumatic event, because when you use them, something bad happened to you and you don't want to use them anymore because of that, and now you need them. So we need to recover that and unblock you because of that. And these are the kinds of clients that I usually get who we work on that. We bring back their healing abilities and some talents and some powers that they had in past lives, so that they can do that one more time in this lifetime. But it doesn't have to be a traumatic event. Sometimes we just observe ordinary lives, boring lives, where nothing particularly happened, but somebody needs to take back an emotion from there, or vibration from there, of certain quality from there that they didn't have in this lifetime, and that they couldn't learn it from anybody else because there was nobody else to teach them. So we go back and we take this back with them, this quality, and it happens energetically. They feel some sensations and different energy, and mostly we leave in this lifetime something that the client doesn't need anymore. I've had all these kinds of clients that they needed to leave something, there, but the clients that they needed to bring a feeling from there, or a skill, or talent, or personality treaty that they were not able to learn from anybody else in this lifetime, which is normal. Nobody was there to teach them that, and they have to do for themselves. They have to teach themselves, but you cannot expect from those people to give you what they don't have and to show you what they don't have. So just telling them to be to look on a positive side, to be brighter, to be more loving, to be joyful, doesn't work, because they don't know how to do it. They most likely never had anybody else in this lifetime to show them how to do it. Maybe nobody ever showed them love, so they don't know how to express love, and they express it in the only ways that they know, and sometimes these ways are dysfunctional ways, and they have to see how love feels like. And this is what we also do in regression. And these can also be happy lifetimes, because somebody needs to have an experience like that, so that they can bring it back to themselves in this lifetime and create from that vibration from now on. Why is this so important? I'm saying this because there's a lot of hype going around about being positive, having a positive state of mind, doing positive affirmations, and that will resolve things. Yes, mostly it helps. There are some people that this won't help, and those people are the ones that I've been talking about, and this is why I'm speaking about trauma, because this doesn't work for them. You have to find the cause of the event. You have to find the cause of the feeling and help them and teach them how to be what you're telling them to be, because they don't know how to be it. There is one thing in psychology, it's called primary I don't know if I will translate this properly, primary sensitization, which refers to babies up to 3 months. 5 months, they need to be held close to the body and touched, and they have to feel the warmth of your heart and your presence, so you can teach them love, and so that they can feel loved. Because a person who has never been loved and nobody has shown them love cannot love you, cannot show you love in the way that you want them to show you love, because they don't know how. It's not like they don't have it inside of them. They have it inside of them, but it's buried deep somewhere inside. So we have to look for it. And we have to teach them how to express that. I don't know if you remember the cases of children that were raised by wild animals. Those children didn't know how to talk. They used animal language. Those children didn't know nonverbal communication. They had their own, how they communicated with their pack. And they didn't understand not only our social norms, but they basically didn't understand emotions, the range of emotions that we have. And of course, they can be taught. They need to be taught, but that's exactly what I'm telling you. You cannot expect from somebody like that to just know something. You don't expect from somebody that goes to, I don't know, Japan or Sweden to just speak their language if they never learned this language. But I don't understand then why do you expect from somebody all of a sudden to just be this hype and positive and give you this beaming light if nobody has ever showed it to them. These are usually people who lived in difficult circumstances or something difficult happened to them, so they need to be re-educated. They need to be taught how to do that. It doesn't mean that they cannot do it. They can do it, but you need to teach them and not just giving them advice of what to do. There is another thing that I also want to say about the helping professions. Those who do this as their job and who have done it for quite some time know one rule of the game, that you actually never advise anybody anything. The advice or what they need to do, even the suggestion for their subconscious mind, comes from them, from the client. You can guide them. You can ask them questions. This is what happens in the process when you talk to me. In the regression, you talk to me. And according to what you tell me, I ask you questions. And I guide you so that you can remember and so that you can understand what happened to you and why this happened to you and what you needed to learn. Because you need to experience it for yourself, and that when it comes from the inside, when it comes from you, it's the proper knowledge. It's integrated properly, and it empowers you. And when I give you the advice, if you're not ready for that advice, it doesn't help you. You can even get angry with me, and I disempower you, and also you can blame me if things don't work. And you are giving me the responsibility for your own process, for your own life, and for your own learning, for your own journey. Clients that come to see me constantly expect me to have a magic wand for their life and just all of a sudden resolve all of their issues. There is a magic wand in my hand, and I've been playing with it all along, but it's not what it's used for. I'm not an expert. I'm an expert for therapy, for hypnotherapy, but I'm not an expert for your life. You are the expert for your life. I'm your guide in this process, and I'm sort of a channel for the energy of your guides and my guides and other beings that are helping you. And I cannot tell you what to do. You tell yourself what to do. And even if I receive an information of what you should do, I'm not the one to tell you that. I should talk you through it, and I should. Sometimes it's sometimes it's needed, but mostly we're not disempowering you by taking the responsibility for your own life in our hands. You are responsible for your learning process, and this is a learning process for you. This is how you raise your consciousness, and this is how you raise the consciousness of everybody else, and this is how you raise the consciousness of the collective and of the earth. And this is how it's best done. So the effects of the regression, it can take up to 6 months to 1 year so that you can see the effects of a past life regression in your life. You need a month at least to integrate what has happened to you. You do understand it mentally. you do understand the messages, but before they become the part of you, and before they emotionally are integrated, and before you start vibrating from this new energy, and before you start living it, it takes 6 months to 1 year. I didn't like that either. I wanted changes quickly, but it doesn't happen this way. Changes happen when you are ready, when you understand something about yourself, and when you are ready to move on and create yourself differently. You don't do past life regression only to remember a past event or a past life, and you can do it just for the excitement of it, but we are now doing it so that you can be living in past. The idea of past life regression is that you understand what you didn't know before, and to learn the lesson and create your future anew, to receive knowledge about yourself, to understand yourself better, to love yourself more, to integrate that part of yourself inside of this sub-personality that you are functioning from, this role that you're functioning from, to understand it better, and to live in the now, to create your life anew, to create a better future for yourself. Yeah, this is why it takes so long, and of course, it's give or take. It's different for every client. It's different from client to client. You can receive very specific information about what you should do, or you might not, receive any information at all. Maybe they don't tell you, or just you're not ready. What happens? What's the worst thing that can happen with regression? That you don't go into the process because your mental mind doesn't want to let go of control. That means you're not ready to face that part of yourself, or you're not ready to let go of the event. You still need whatever you need from there, and you don't want to let it go, and then nothing actually happens. You receive all the information that you need. It doesn't mean you didn't, but you may be not applying it. You're not applying what you've been told, or you didn't understand properly, so it takes time. This is why it takes time. And with all this, a new energy happens. You receive a new energy, different energy, that because you once were on another level of development, and now you have raised a little bit on the ladder, and you receive new energy, and this you need to integrate this energy, and this is why it takes a bit of time. And that's how it works, and it can't be rushed. Some clients that came to see me had very quick results. Some left some medications that they use for depression immediately. A guy found a job like a week after, and we didn't work on that even. We worked on something else, but then this opened him up energetically. He was not blocked anymore. He had a flow of energy, and things happened for him. And for some people, nothing happened. I had clients who were sick, and they were told, explained why they needed this illness and what it gave them, and now they're healed because they also work in different ways, not only through regression, but they went to see doctors and other healers and all different, everything that they could possibly do to help them. They did that, and their soul was telling them that they're healed. But the moment when they got out of hypnotic trance, they started the same story. They didn't believe it. It takes a little bit of faith. This process also takes a little bit of faith. So you have to believe the information that you are being given. One more thing. People ask me, are they imagining this? Is this something that they are creating by their mental mind? I do ask about names and dates and countries. You can research if you want to, but this is not a priority. This is not my priority, and for my clients this is not a priority also, because they only want to feel better. They want to understand themselves better. And even if you did create this story, even if you did imagine it, you're not lying to yourself, because there is a reason that you created this story. not some other story, and you are telling this story to yourself subconsciously. You are repeating it to yourself. Our subconscious mind talks to us through stories and symbols and visuals, and this is how you create your life from. And for some reason, you are living this story in this life. Most of the time, what people find is that they are watching similar story. They're telling me the similar story that resembles exactly this lifetime and what happens to them in this lifetime and in this process that brought them to see me. And they, this is what they're interested in, and this is what I'm interested in. So mostly you're not imagining this story, but even if you do, it doesn't really matter because you're living it. Your subconscious mind is living it. For your subconscious mind, this story happens now. And there is a reason why, and we are looking and searching for this reason. One more thing about processing and how do you receive information. It's different from client to client, and it depends on how your intuition works. It's not always visual process, and it's not always watching a 3D movie. Some people do, but most of them don't. It's through bodily sensations, it's through insight, it's through knowing, it's through a thought, but it's from your mind, it's your inner voice, but it's not as if it's coming from somewhere else. And if somebody else sent it to you, because the sentences or the terms that you use in it are not something that you usually use. Or it can be also auditory. You might hear a voice, or you just see light, and you just somehow know everything from this light. So it's very, very different. And it also varies from regression to regression with the same person too, because when we come up with to trauma, to something very traumatic that has happened to them, or something that is very difficult and they cannot remember, or something that bad that they have done to somebody else, it's harder to remember because it's harder for you to face the situation. So you start receiving information differently than you used to. I'm very visual, but sometimes in regression, even now, I don't receive information visually. So I think this is all that I needed. Was there anything? I just have something in my mind that I think I didn't tell you, but I cannot remember now. I hope I covered everything regarding regression, especially past life regression, and why can this be of interest to you. So do feel free to contact me or ask some questions, because I will be glad to answer them. And yeah, if I forgot to cover something, I will just do it in another video about the last part of the process. And yeah, this is all for tonight, and thank you very much for following me. Bye.